is Home Games. Welcome. Thanks for being here. That is Rick Zamperin on the top row from 900 CHML. Below him is Steve Milton from the Hamilton Spectator, and beside him, Bubba O'Neill from CHCH TV Sports. Guys, in the last few days, we had the Baseball Hall of Fame voting, and nobody got in. Curt Schilling was seen as the most likely, but a number of voters, many voters it seems, in fact, have decided that things that he said politically or positions he's taken overrode any performance that he may have had on the field that were worthy or not of a spot. Steve, you have voted on the Hall of Fame for many years on not just this one, other Halls of Fame, whether it's baseball or otherwise. Should a player's opinions, politics, views, comments factor into whether or not he or she gets voted into a Hall of Fame?
Well, politically, no. And for the most part, socially either. And I'll say this right now: I don't vote for. It's been 3 years now. I gave up my vote in the Baseball Hall of Fame. I don't think I would have voted for Schilling. I don't like him, but that's not why. I just thought he was just marginal enough that there are other pitchers coming along in the next couple of years that'll probably be more worthy candidates for it. But politically, no, because that'd be like saying in track and field you couldn't have John Carlos and Tommy Smith in, and of course they're a little closer to the politics that I believe in. So I'd have to, or Brady, people like that. So I disagree. I wouldn't have voted, and I don't know for sure how many people actually voted against him on the politics. They may have. Sometimes you just don't like somebody.
There's a bunch, Steve. There's a bunch that wrote and expressed their opinions that was the reason why he's not in.
Yeah, so, in general, I would say totally against that, and would be against that when I voted as well. I mean, I voted for a lot of people I didn't like.
Rick?
Yeah, I mean, there's a line item in terms of, the Baseball Hall of Fame, Cooperstown, on, the integrity of the game. Did this individual uphold the integrity of the game? And whether you want to stretch that to things that are said off the diamond, I mean, if that's the case, do you have to go back in the history books and, revoke the election or induction of other Hall of Fame members because they're not all princes? Ty Cobb is widely known to be, just an utter racist, and did so on the field and still was elected among the first group of Hall of Famers to Cooperstown. So, you know what? I think it's a dangerous game to play, especially when you enter the world of politics. I don't think it should affect a Hall of Fame vote.
The thing to me that this is so ridiculous is in the sense that we have a voting group, and not every single person. I believe there's 400 people that vote at this point for the Baseball Writers Association. Are all of these people perfect? I mean, because I know for a fact, and I have read enough now, where people hold grudges against people. I'll use Barry Bonds, for example. There's a lot of people that don't want Barry Bonds in the Baseball Hall of Fame, not because of the allegations of drug use and that kind of stuff, but more so because he was a jerk. Barry was a jerk. He was hard to work with. Steve Carlton, very difficult to work with, not friendly with the media. And a lot of people hold grudges. So if the Baseball Writers Association of America want to be jerks and not elect people or make them wait, maybe they should take a good look at themselves to see how clean or what perfect people they are. Because, Rick, you're right. If you're going to do a fact check or a personal check on every single person that's been voted in, boy, I think you'd eliminate a lot of people out of that Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Good thing, self-reflection. Especially for a guy who's voted and had a few skeletons in his own closet. So.
Yeah. Look, we all do. Here's the problem I have with it. And Steve, again, you've read this much more closer than the rest of us, but the Hall of Fame criteria includes on-field performance, and character is one of the things, and everything else. I interpret that, and I think a lot of people would, as, your character as it pertained to the game. And so cheating the game is much more clear. What Curt Schilling did, you may or may not agree with what he says or has done since, but he didn't. No one's ever accused him of cheating the game. I don't think. I don't recall any allegations of him cheating in some way. And yet, I'll tell you what. I won't mention the name, but one voter in Canada who wrote a piece about why he didn't vote for Schilling, which was exactly the reason we're discussing. He says it would be dangerous to give him that platform, which I find crazy. Also said he voted for Bonds and Clemens even though he acknowledges that they likely cheated the game. To me, the Hall of Fame, if you cheat the game, that's much more of an indictment of you getting into the Hall than what you say politically afterwards.
Strong point. A strong point. Now, I started this by saying politically. Now, what you define as political can be some other types of things. If you bring shame to the games, like if you were somebody that maybe say took part, like actually did something involved in an insurrection and that kind of thing, well, a lot of people might call that just political, but because you're also bringing the game with you into that one, you'd have to be really, really close. It's like the gambling thing. It was like Joe Louis,
Well, where's the line then, Steve? Is it a crime? Is the line a crime? If you are convicted of a crime like that, is that the line, or is merely someone saying what you did I interpret as?
Well, everybody has to draw their own line, Scott, and that's just, we've had that many discussions on the steroid issue on that. Where is that line? And because lines can move and they're so thin and they're so blurry and all of those kinds of things, I think that would be a good place to start. You may have to start looking at some stuff retroly. I think that's a totally wrong argument about shilling, especially when you vote for drug users. I agree with your point 100% on that. But you got to be careful what you define as politics, and if you can extend everything to politics and then all of a sudden you're giving blanket protection for people sort of shaming themselves at the same time in the game. That's the other part we have to remember about this. These people represent the game a lot more than they once did.
Right. I think the most interesting process now is, Schilling wants to be taken off next year's ballot, which would be his final year of eligibility, and say, hey, just, push me to the Veterans Committee. And if I get in, great. And if not, it's not the end of the world. If that Veterans Committee, especially in year one, says, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, and doesn't it just discredit the whole Baseball Writers Association process? Because
already is, because of a couple of guys that got in already. Yeah. Already is disrespected inside the thing. And there's another change here too. A lot of people who vote now don't attend sort of the same way that the original types of voters did, which was why it's so strict for so many years. We had to do so many games and be there and be out there on the road with the team. Sometimes people never go to games, and that's going to get more and more and more and more that way. They write a lot about it and they're connected, but they don't go.
But isn't that voting committee, the Veterans Voting Committee, more so player-based than the actual, and that's the difference. Because Schilling says, you know what, I'll wait. Take me off the damn ballot, because I would rather be voted in by people and my peers and players that understand what the rigors of playing baseball is than a bunch of guys like us that stand on the sidelines. And as you said, especially the way things are going nowadays, where we're losing touch with teams because we're doing Zoom calls and we're analyzing the game from home and not being at the park. I know it's special circumstance, but that's what's going on, especially with some companies. I agree with Schilling, because take a look at his numbers. He was one of the most dominant pitchers in the National League in the 90s. And then I thought, put it over the top with what he did with Boston. Bloody sock, and wherever you believe that or not. Believe he was a World Series MVP. He was outstanding. How does that guy, because you look at his numbers too, 200 is going to be the new 300 from what it is now. No one's winning 300 games anymore. No. So how Schilling doesn't get in based on merit and what he did as a baseball player is kind of a surprise to me.
Well, if he's in, Steve's in, because Steve was the second best pitcher for the 80s, completely. Like only Jack was better.
Should Curt Schilling's politics, should his views, should comments after baseball impact, or anyone for that matter, impact their likelihood of getting into a Hall of Fame? Could happen to anybody in any sport, theoretically. Or should it be entirely based on what they do on the field, good or bad? Good or bad? Let us know. Comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. Also subscribe. We do this a lot. We're doing them shorter. We're doing them tighter. We're doing them more often. We'd love for you to be aware when they're coming up. Talk to you soon.